Good morning, guys. Welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 275. 275 episodes of me talking shit. Well, not really talking shit, but just talking about life, right? Before I hopped on there and did my podcast, I was watching a bunch of reels, and this one reels stuck out to me. Re, remember the brother's name, but he was talking about like, yo, like if you break up with somebody or somebody breaks up with you, and it's like they start fucking with everybody, exes, randoms, this and this and that, all that means is that that's just one thing, that's where they were the entire time, you know, that's where they wanted to be. It's like I remember this guy back in college. He was dating this girl. She was cute, had a fat ass and everything, but like they broke up, and like I want to say like 2, 3 weeks later, she was dating somebody new, and like we all went to school together, so we see them every day. And I'm like, and then he's telling us and X, Y, and Z, and I said, bro, it was like the dude was probably there the entire time. She probably wasn't fucking him, or maybe she was fucking him, you know. But the point is that he was there, my boy. He was there in the wings as the backup plan. And don't worry, the same shit that happened to you is gonna happen to him too. You know? And it's true, man, because it's like I've had people break up with me. I've broken up with people. And like they go off and they date somebody way worse, bro. I'm talking about like people that don't even support their goals type of shit. I'm like, you broke up with, like you sabotaged something with somebody else, i.e. me, somebody who supported your goals, somebody who wanted you to succeed at all your goals, only to go off and find somebody who doesn't, or vice versa. I've had friends, female friends, break up with their boyfriends and end up dating a worse dude. I'm like, how's that even possible? Like, how do you go find somebody who's worse than your last boyfriend? You know? And it's like, and that's a whole nother topic too, because like people want to be like, oh yeah, well, men and women can't be friends. I'm like, no, we can. The difference is that the man has to not want his female friend sexually. And believe me, it's like after hearing how some of y'all talk and how you guys deal with conflict and everything, it's easy to do. You know, people are like, what? I was like, yeah, it's easy to do. That's the part that's just like when people don't understand that. I'm like, it's not that hard to do, bro. Like, you know, it's not. A lot of people will be like, oh yeah, but X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada. Like, yeah, I get all that. I understand all that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, cool. It's whatever, because it is. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that people don't know how to be alone with each other. You know, they don't know how to be alone with somebody, or by themselves, and it's like they end up just entertaining the next person that comes along, and the next person that comes along is like that person. It doesn't matter the gender. Uh, they may or may not be. Most of the time, they're not. They're not the right person. Because you're not the right person. I was telling somebody the other day. I was like, bro, it's like stop focusing on finding the right person and start focusing on being the right person. They're like, what you mean? I was like, bro, if you out here looking for love and everything, and like nigga, you heartbroken a whole nine, it's like you're not gonna find what you need, bro, because you're not giving yourself what you need. And it's like I'm not saying go to therapy. I'm not saying do all that stuff. Hell, therapy helps, from what I've heard, I haven't started my therapy sessions yet, but like therapy does help, But therapy is just a tool for you to be better, It's not a crutch for you to be in therapy for 10, 15, 20 years or whatever it is. And it's like a lot of women will ignore the signs, and it's like, why? How? Like, how do you ignore that? You know, it's like, how did you not see that? Like, especially when people are telling you, you know, like I ha- I have a homegirl. She was telling me about her mans and everything too, and I'm like, and she's like, what? She's like, what's up, Mikey? And I'm like, it sounds like bro doesn't know how to be an active dad, because it's like, you know, if he's complaining about changing diapers and not having X, Y, and Z, you know, and like he wanted to go, you know, he wanted the relationship to be like how it was before, like it was just the two of them. But I'm like, yo, but you can't, because you have you know, because you have a kid, you know, it's like you have a child, like, you know, the days of you guys going out and doing X, Y, and Z on a whim are done. You know, it's like, because you can't, you know. And she was telling me all this shit. I'm like, yo, it sounds like bruh, he's not an active dad. He doesn't know how to be an active dad, because most guys, it's like, you can tell, you know, who's ready for fatherhood and who's not, you know. And I was asked that question once too, and I said like, yo, it's like, I said, I don't know how to be ready for something when it's brand new. And that was my honest answer, because I'm like, I don't. Like, do I want to be a father? Yeah, being a father would be great, you know. But asking me if I'll be ready for it is two different things, bro. It's like, you know, it's like, because you can't be ready for something that's, like I said, that's brand new. It's like, that's not gonna happen, you know. Like, you can't be sitting there and be like, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z. Like, no, it's gonna be brand new. It's gonna be something that's not, you know, that's not, you know, something brand new, something that's not a what's the word I'm looking for? It's not routine, and it's not, you know, because it's like, a lot of it has to do with the fact that people love the idea. You know, they love the title, wife, husband, mom, you know, mom, dad, mother, father, whatever it is, right? People love that idea, and then like, when you actually have to put in the work for it, they're like, "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" You know, and it's like you end up in a situation where it's like, "Oh, what the fuck?" You know, it's like, I've seen people marry the wrong people. I've seen people stay in relationships too long. And I'm not talking like no, you know, like no manini shit, like nothing small, you know. I'm not talking nothing minor. I'm talking major shit. I'm talking like how people don't know how to manage their money. I'm talking about how people don't know how to like create a budget plan. And these are people making 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, or even 100K a year. I'm like, how are you broke if you making like 60 plus a year? Like, to me, that's crazy. Yeah. Like, and you know, and I'm talking about like where they need help on the bills and all that shit. I'm like, how? Like, how you not, you know, how you not self-sufficient enough to understand that, like, oh, you gotta stand on your own 2 feet, you know, which is crazy to me, you know. And then you see people doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, yo, because you living above your means. It's like it's like that one, it's like that one video that went viral where the lady was bitching about like um um how she couldn't pay her bills and everything too, and all this other shit, you know. Like, she drives the G wagon. She, you know, I think she makes like $85,000 a year as a teacher. Everybody knows that, bro. If you drive in a G wagon and you make $85,000 a year, you already in the hole. A G wagon is 100 grand plus. Like, what are you talking about, bro? You know. And like, where they live at, I guess her and her husband is like, it's like 5 grand a month in rent and all this other shit. Her, her car notes like $1,000 a month. I was like, bro, it's like, and then she had the nerve to say, well, it's all satire. Like, shut the fuck up, bro. Like that is just stupid. It's like, we know it's not satire because we see you sitting in the fucking G wagon, bro. You know, it's it's shit like that, bro. It's like people love to make like they love to make jokes about them not being fiscally responsible. You know, and my thing is simply that. It's like, bro, like how can you sit there and say that? You know, like, or how can you sit there and say that it's X, Y, and Z when it's not? It's like, bro, it's like you're horrible at handling money. You know, I hate to say it, but it's true. You know, like you suck at handling money. And that's the part that it's like it just doesn't make any sense to me because it's like, how can you sit there and say that shit and thinking that shit's like okay, like that's gonna fly, bro. Like it doesn't, you know. And I don't know, maybe people do it for engagement or attention or what. Like I just find that shit weird, bro. Like to get in front of a camera and talk about how piss poor money management skills that you have. And the funny thing about this shit, that lady was that lady's a teacher. She's moaning young minds, and yet she can't even fucking like handle her own fucking shit. Oh yeah, too. Like she was talking about how she couldn't even afford gas that month. How her husband had to, you know, had to pay for her gas that month. You know how she couldn't move anything to the savings. I'm like, I just didn't understand that, and like then you hear in the comments saying that it was all satire, and I'm like, no, that's not. That's not. That's that's somebody living above their means, bro, and like they want to joke about it, but there's nothing to joke about. That's sad actually. You know, to sit there like to say that that shit is satire is like why? I don't understand that because I don't. You know, I don't understand how somebody can say that shit, and it's like you realize how dumb you look, right? As an educator, as somebody who's educated, you know, somebody who has, at the very minimum, a bachelor's degree, maybe a master's degree. You realize how stupid you sound, right? And I gotta look up her or TikTok handle and whatnot. But it's like maybe this. I mean, I guess there's people out there who do that shit, bro. I guess there's people out there who like who just get in front of a camera phone fucking lens and start saying how bad they are with money. It's like, or another thing too is like, and a bunch of me myself and a bunch of my homeboys have been through this. We're like, it's like where we ask our girls at the time. Notice I said at the time. Like, you know, they ask us, oh, so what do you want for us to make this work? I was like, yo, like, I need peace. I need you to be, you know, like my partner. I don't need you to question me like as to, you know, um, what I got going on, or like if I just want to chill with the, you know, chill at the house, whatever it is, boom, 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 and it's like not every weekend we got to go out and we got to spend money, you know, and it's true, and that individual said like, oh well, like you know, they're like, oh well, like you know. That answer to to my question isn't the answer that I'm looking for. I'm like, bro, you literally said what you needed from her to make this shit work, and you literally said you wanted her to trust you and like and just to be your piece, right? You know, like or be a product of your piece. You know, because anybody who's been in a relationship where like they're being constantly accused of shit, bro, and I've been there. It sucks, especially when you know you're not doing nothing wrong. Especially when you know you're not doing nothing that you're being accused of. It's like, it's like, and it's like, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of women, and I don't mean to sound sexist, but a lot of women don't, they don't, you know, yeah, there's always gonna be somebody better looking than you, you know, younger than you, whatever it is, more curves than you, whatever it is. But it's like that's just eye candy, you know, like this person is with you because they want to be with you, you know? Or it's like it's it's just something that's weird because a lot of women will get caught up in this situation and they'll think like, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada. But like, no, it's just like it has nothing to do with your insecurities, bro. It was like I had an ex once, and I don't know why she did this, but I got multiple Instagram profiles, right? She went through every single one, and like just to see who I followed, and I'm like, and then she's telling me about it, like, you wasted your time with that, and like, mind you, one of them, like one of my profiles is strictly just working out, you know. Another one of my profiles is me making music. So like, as you guys can see, is like, most of this shit that and then I have my main one, you know, and that's like a mixture of all three. And I'm like, yo, you literally went down the rabbit's hole for that? Like, why? Yeah, of course. Okay, cool, whatever. It's like, but it's like all you do is upset yourself because it's like, okay, yeah, it's like I follow a bunch of fit chicks. Cool, okay, cool. You know, I was a former competitive bodybuilder. What do you think I was doing that for? It's like, and it's like, it's crazy to me how people will just like, they'll sit there and sabotage something. And I was like, bro, it's like, you could have just came and talked to me. We could have had a conversation like adults. We could have hammered this shit out. It's like, but instead, you let your insecurities and all the other bullshit win the day, and it was like, why? I just didn't understand that. Like, I didn't get that, and I think that's just something that a lot of women have and again, I don't mean to sound sexist, but when it comes to social media and shit, bro, it's like a lot of women have this double standard. Because I personally know, I know girls who are only fangirls, and I'm like, and they will be like, oh, guys are this, guys that. I'm like, no, like, well, like, maybe if you stopped objectifying yourself, you wouldn't have this problem. And they're like, what do you mean? So it's my fault? I'm like, my, like, you got niggas paying fucking $5 a month to see your ass and tits, to, to see pictures of your vagina, videos of your vagina. It's like, what are you talking about, bro? It's like, you pimping yourself out, and then you getting mad that guys are treating you that way. I'm like, the connection isn't there, right? It's like they don't realize that they're a part of the problem. You know, it's like my man Cypher said, like he's like, yo, like a lot of people confuse options with visibility. I'll never forget that, bro. When bro says like, yes, he's like, yeah, a lot of people are visible. It just doesn't mean that they're an option. Or it's like my saying is like, if you outside and they outside, ask yourself why y'all are both outside. Yeah, it's like, or it's like how women love to sit there and play victim in a situation. It's like, bro, it's like you knew he was a piece of shit before you had the first kid. You went off and had the second, third, fourth, whatever, how many kids you had with him, and it's like, what are you complaining about? Like you knew what you was getting into. You knew what the vibe was. So I think like a lot of it has to do with the fact that, again, to go back to my original statement, which is if somebody starts messing around with everybody else after the fact, that's who they were the entire time, and that's just gender neutral. That has nothing to do with either sex. I just like it's like, yo, it's like if you start piping down bitches, or a girl starts fucking, just random dudes, it's like It's like, yo, that's who you were the entire time. You know, it's like I remember when somebody said like, oh well, like they asked me what's a whole phase or no, they said oh what's a bro phase, and I said well a whole phase is basically where like men, I was like men and women can do this shit. I was like a whole phase is like where you just have sex with a bunch of random ass people, you know. It's almost like you having a roster of this people that you fuck. A bro phase is pretty much the same thing. It's just a different word. And like this individual brought that up, and I'm like, nah. It was like, and mind you, they were a woman. And I'm like, yo, like you don't want to do a whole phase, bro, because it's like you don't have the self confidence to handle that shit. Is it because it's like, like you're not that type of girl, like you know, because if you were that type of girl, you wouldn't be in these committed relationships for that long. Because it's like, she's like, what? It's like, yeah, it's like you tell the guy all you want is casual, and watch what the fuck happens. He's gonna treat you like you fucking casual, and then he's gonna be like, whoa, like you said you want the next one Z, so what's the issue? And he's not wrong, you know. I had a former friend of mine, like this is years ago. Uh like this is probably like a decade ago. And or close to a decade ago. And so she had broken up with her kid's dad, and so she was, seeing somebody casually. And apparently the dude had a baby, and she didn't know about it. But like the way she was explaining it, like, and I told her point blank at the guy, it sounds like it was a casual thing. And she's like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, like how you're explaining it is like it sounds like you guys are just hooking up. And it's like, and I told her there's nothing wrong with that, you know. But it also sounds like you wasn't clear on what the boundaries were. And it's like, and if you guys were just hooking up, he doesn't have to tell you anything with what he's got going on. And but she's like, what? I was like, yeah. It's like, because I told her like, from what you're telling me, from what it sounds like, it's just a casual relationship, and that's fine, you know. Like, you know, it's like that's great. But I told her if you wanted more with this guy, you probably should have vetted him, you know. You probably should have vetted him a lot more than before you jumped in the sheets with him, because now like you muddy the waters, and it's like you can sit there and blame him whatever it is, but at the end of the day, it's like if you found out by somebody else that he had a baby, or maybe he slipped up and he told you about it, you can't get mad about it because you failed to do the fucking research. You failed to do the you failed to do what you should have done, which is vet the guy. And that's what I said. I was like, you can't get mad at somebody for not telling you something when you didn't ask any questions. It's like why would somebody get mad at something that they didn't ask any questions to? It's like you can't, like you're gonna sit there and get mad at somebody for what? They they're not who they say they are, or whatever it is. It's or like they're not gonna explain the entire life situation to you. It's like people who get married and then get divorced, and they have a tendency to blame the other half, and I'm like, you can't just blame the other person, bro. Like you gotta blame yourself too. It's like stop thinking that it's just them. Oh, it didn't work out because of them. Like, no, it didn't work out because of you too. You know, it didn't work out because the marriage didn't work out because you guys weren't compatible. But yeah, you tried to make something work and work and work and work and work and work. And then it's like when it didn't work, you're like, oh, what the fuck? How come it didn't work? I was like why? Like why would it? Like why would something work when it's not meant to work? It's like stop thinking that it's like it has to be like this huge thing in it. Like it really doesn't. It's like it didn't work because it didn't work, and you know what? That's fine. You know, like you don't have to sit there and be like, oh well, yeah, X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada. But I'm like, no, it just didn't work, and that's perfectly okay. Like, stop thinking that it's like everything has to make sense, or stop thinking that everything has to be quote unquote perfect because it doesn't. You know, it's like not everything needs to be kept being tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. It's like it's okay to fail at some shit. It really is. You know, it's 100% okay. You know, it's okay to be like, okay, that shit didn't work out. Cool. Like that sucks, but I'm okay with it. You know, that sucks. You know, I lost somebody that I really cared about. But you know what? I'd rather sit there and with the experience instead of trying to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, you know, when it's clearly not working, you know? Like I wish more people would be more um thoughtful that way, you know? Because not everything needs to be like, yeah, oh my God, this, oh my God, that. I'm like, no, it's like not everything has to be like that, bro. Not everything has to be like, oh, I gotta make sure this works because I'm so afraid of what other people gonna think about me after the fact. Like, bro, who cares, bro? I know people in the in their 40s still thinking that way. I'm like, why do you give a fuck, bro? You know, like why? I know people in their 50s that still think like that way. I'm like, bro, like what the fuck? You know? That's why I went like when I see these kids in their 20s and whatnot, and even in the young 30s, I'm like, bro, it's like you caring too much about the wrong thing. You know, it's like it's really not that difficult, bro. And it's not. And it's like a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada. But I'm like, nah. It's like does that suck 100%? Am I gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah, you know, you're doing a great, a great fucking job. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna sit here and bullshit you. I'm not gonna fucking lie to you. I'm gonna hold you accountable the same way I want you to hold me accountable. And there's a lot of the times people will sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, but X, Y, and Z." Yada. I was like, no, it's like, bro, it's like, yeah, it sucked that you went through that, but you know what? So what? You know, like, so what? Yeah. And it's like a lot. A lot of it has to do with the fact that you people have to learn from other people's situations, bro. It's like I was talking to this kid yesterday, and he was telling me about one of his friends that X, Y, and Z, and basically the friends in prison for the next 10 to 15 years for what he did, and 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 I was like, bro, I was like, hey, I was like, hey, I said, I get it, I understand it, I know why he did what he did, cause it was a domestic dispute, but I said, look at him now. He's got to spend at least 10 to 15 years behind bars, and he's like maybe 20, 21. By the time he gets out of jail, he'll be in his 30s. And it's like everything that he had going for him isn't going to be there, bro, because people move on. They move forward, bro. And it's like having the ability to not deal with every fucking problem that comes your way, bro, is a blessing, you know? And it's like, and what makes the situation sad, man, is that the situation that he involved himself in, it didn't even involve him. It involved somebody else. And I'm like, oh, it's like if that person kept going back to that situation, you gotta let them learn. You know, like you have to let them understand that, like, yo, like you're the cause of your own shit. Like my father once told me, only a stupid man wants a stupid woman and vice versa. You know, it took me years to figure that out. But once I did, it was a wrap. Anyway, it's about 30 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keeping it 4-piece. Private player, positive pushing. I'll see y'all next week. I love y'all. Like I always say, know your worth because you're better than what you are. All right, y'all. Have a beautiful Sunday. Y'all stay safe. Y'all stay dry. And I'll see y'all next week. Peace.